I will quickly run through some of the new features we've added in MechDesigner 14. You can now add bevel gears. These are added in much the same way as gear pairs, only they are defined on two perpendicular planes. So start with a line and add a rocker in the normal way to one end of the line. Next, define a plane centered on the point at the other end of the line and rotate it about the z-axis to make it normal to the line. Make sure that you are showing sketches from other mechanisms, then create a new mechanism on the plane you've just made. Add a part and then add a pin joint. First select the line point defining a new plane and then the origin of the new part just added. Don't worry that the joint does not drag the points to be coincident, but now we are ready to define the bevel gear. The bevel gear must be defined in the mechanism containing the driving gear or rocker. Click the Add Gear command and select the items in the same way as you would an ordinary gear. A line on the driving part, a line on the driven part in the other mechanism, and a line connecting the two gear centers. Complete the command and the bevel gear outline will be drawn. You can now edit the gear using exactly the same dialog as an ordinary gear pair. Next, we have added the ability to calculate forces on a conjugate cam. These generally do not need springs to hold the roller on the profile. A second cam is added with a conjugate roller, so when the contact force on the cam becomes negative, and so with lift, the second cam contact force becomes positive. And so, to set up two cams to become conjugate and analyze the forces, first add a conjugate cam function block, then open its edit dialog by double clicking on it and select the two cams that form the conjugate pair. Now edit the cams again by double clicking and select contact force under the display option. The cams will just show a black line. This usually means that the power or drive for the follower mechanism has not been defined. So we must configure the power by editing the kinematic chain in the kinematic tree on the left. There are two kinematic chains, one for the follower and one for the crank driving the cam. We must set MechDesigner to use the conjugate cam pair as the power source for the follower system. Do this by right-clicking on the follower kinematic chain and selecting Configure Power. Now in the dialog, select Conj Cam. MechDesigner now knows that you intend the cam to drive the follower mechanism, not a motor on the follower pivot. The contact forces can now be seen switching between cam profiles. We've also added support for different languages. If you go to the application settings dialog, you can change the language to one of, I think, 10 languages just by selecting the appropriate language, and all the dialogue should theoretically update